you can, because I've tested it already. That noise in the background that you can hear gently humming away on this video is not so gentle when you're sat in the room next to it. And that noise is currently being made by my PC. You may have seen the video I posted up earlier on today whereby I cleaned my PC and spent a significant amount of time doing it, and ultimately it hasn't really made a huge difference to the volume that the fans are making. I've done a bit of research and I think I know what's happened. I think that the exhaust fan at the back, the 140mm Phanteks fan, and the 200mm Phanteks fan at the front, which are 2 years old because they were bought when the case was bought, I think they've spent the entirety of their life being ran flat out. And I think that with the collection of dust and just the hours that they've run flat out, the bearings have failed on them. And I don't think they were particularly quiet fans in the first place. Now, those of you that don't know, and I didn't know this, there are a huge variety of fans available to buy for PCs that vary in build quality, cost, cubic air movement, so how much air they can move per minute, and also the decibels that they create. And obviously you want your PC to be as quiet as possible. So currently my PC has 3 fans. So it's got the big 200mm case fan at the front, the 140mm CPU fan on the cooler, and the 140mm exhaust fan at the back, which really isn't enough for this sort of PC when under load. So done a bit of research, watched quite a few videos, and thought I need to do something else. Now I looked at what was going on here, and the reason that these fans have run flat out is that the case comes with its own hub for plugging in your CPU fans and your case fans and whatever. And that hub is part of the case, not part of the motherboard. So what happens is that when that case fan is all plugged up together, when you run Windows, which is what this case expects you to run, you can run the software that comes with it, which allows you to control the fan speeds. But I didn't realise that when you're in Mac OS, if it's on those headers, the main board doesn't see those fans as spinning at all. They get a set voltage, which I think is the full voltage they can be sent. So they basically sit there running flat out. So on Saturday when I did the clean-up, I thought, well, I don't really want that. So I had a bit of a play around, and I took the fans off the header that they were on the back of the case, which was good for cable management, clearly doesn't work for this. Took them off that, rerouted them onto the headers on the motherboard, and the motherboard then sees the fan speeds, and what it allows you to do is that you can then set custom curves. So depending on temperatures and what have you, you can set custom curves for what speeds, what load the fan should run at. Now I had a play around with this, and you can set the fans to go off, so to not come on at all until a certain temperature is reached. I thought, well, okay, we'll try that. Now the fans that I've got at the moment are DC fans, so they're 3-pin fans. The fans that you want for this board that I have, the Asus Z97 board, are PWM fans, so they're 4-pin connectors, and that allows the board to control the voltage more easily, I believe. I'm not an expert in this. But basically I could set via DC on the board with the current fans, I could set this curve for load, for duty, for temperature, and adjust it as and when I saw fit. And it allowed me to turn off the intake fan, and it allowed me to turn off the exhaust fan. So I literally ran the CPU fan, and that was running relatively low because it's a relatively the CPU fans never seem to spin that fast anyway, so it was fairly quiet when I did that. I thought, brilliant. Then I thought, I'm just going to stress test it to make sure that it works, and I fired up Prime 95 stress test, and all of a sudden CPU core temp started peaking, started getting very, very warm. The ambient temperature started getting very, very warm, as you'd expect because you stress test him, and the fans didn't kick in. Now, they may have done if I'd bottled it and not bottled it rather, and left it running for a bit longer. But that CPU in there cost me 250 quid, and the board was about the same. I thought, I don't fancy blowing that plus whatever the RAM cost me as well, because that weren't cheap because there's 32 gig in there. So I bottled it and cancelled the stress test. But those two fans didn't kick in, and immediately it unnerved me, because I don't want to be happily thinking everything's okay and the next minute have a thermal overheat, system shut down, board be damaged, CPU be damaged, and not be able to boot back up. So I've bit the bullet. I've ordered some new fans. Those fans that I've ordered are Noctua. Now, those of you that watched my video previously, where I cleaned the CPU fan, the Noctua fans are the rather unattractive fans, is probably the best way of putting them. They're beige and brown, but you're not going to see the 200mm one in the front because it's hidden in the case. The exhaust one, you'll see it at the back, but to be fair, you can see the one on the CPU cooler. It doesn't look that bad. It's their colour scheme, it's what they design their fans to. Now they do an option now where you can buy them in different colours, but guess what? They're more expensive. And I kind of thought, well, if I'm going to buy a different colour exhaust fan for that, then I'll have to buy a different colour CPU cooler fan and different colour exhaust. And before you know it, you're spending another load of money on top that you don't need. So what I've decided to do is that I have bought 4 140mm Noctua AF14 fans. These fans run at, I think it's 1200 RPM, but they also come with a low noise adapter, which allows you to, it's basically a resistor, so it stops it going to full voltage, which reduces the fan speed to 900 RPM. And because I'm putting more of them in, they won't need to run at the higher speeds. So I'm going to have 3 exhaust fans on the top of the case. I'm going to have the 1 exhaust fan at the back of the case. I'm then going to have the CPU cooler, which is drawing air in from the front, which will then pass to the back and out. And I've got the 200mm intake that will force air in there as well. That's all on its way. So I'm going to do a strip down, do an unboxing of these fans, get them fitted. I'm hoping it's going to be significantly quieter. What I'm hoping it's going to allow me to do is, using the low noise adapter filters that they come with, restrict the speed of these fans slightly. But what I'm also going to do is, because the fans I'm replacing them are PWM fans, it will allow the board, I believe, to monitor them more efficiently, more effectively. So it will allow me to just give it a curve, there's a default curve in the BIOS settings called silent, which obviously is not going to be silent, it's a fan, but I'll give it the silent profile for the CPU and for all these new case fans, the 5 new case fans, because there are 5 headers on the board that, as well as the CPU header, that can take these intake and exhaust fans. So the main board is going to control all of them. I'm going to have some challenges around cable management to keep these neat and tidy. I think I should be okay. I think I've got planned out a route for things, but we'll see how that goes on Friday when they arrive. So yeah, hopefully 5 new fans will go in. I've got some other little bits to do, some cable management whilst I've got it apart, because I think I can just get it looking a little bit neater and tidier. Give it another quick going over, because I'll have it apart again, get any marks off the glass that I didn't quite get off last time and that sort of thing, make sure it's spotless. But I'm hoping by putting in those exhaust fans at the top and a more efficient one at the back and the intake fan at the front, that they can all run, but because I'm hoping the temps will be lower because there's more cubic air being moved around, I'm hoping that I can then run the fans at lower speed so that will create less decibels, theoretically. Equally, if I have a gaming session on this and the temps spike, which they will do when you're running graphic intensive content or CPU intensive things like editing or rendering, if the temps spike, the fans will be able to dissipate that heat more effectively than the current setup I've got. I did say in the previous video I was going to look at going water cooling. I'm not really interested in doing it, to be fair. I think the cooler that I've got on there is an absolute beast. It's massive. It's got 6 heat pipes either side, 2 massive cooler blocks, and the CPU temps run relatively low. I just want to get the ambient temps down lower, but I want it quieter. So I'm hoping that that's what that's going to do. So I'll do an unboxing when they arrive, show you the fans that I've got, probably do a time lapse of me installing them, cable managing them all, and getting the system all back together. And I've also got arriving on Friday a dual monitor stand that I have ordered from Novatech. Now there's been a couple of reviews I've seen of this floating around, but not massive ones. So I've ordered that. That will be here Friday as well. So I'll do an unboxing of that. Hopefully get that installed as well. As well as that, just ordered another LED light strip. So you've seen the walkthrough of my office that I did with the new desk. See, I've got LEDs underneath the actual desk, which lights the floor really quite effectively. My chav lights, as my good mate Kieran calls them. What I'm going to do is actually install some on the back of the desk so it lights the wall up as well. Dirt cheap to do, and because I've bought a smart controller that can control 3 sets, I thought, why not? So I'll be installing those as well, installing the monitors plus the fans, and then what that's going to allow me to do hopefully is get the monitors a little bit higher and off the desk, so it will give me a bit more workspace on the desk. Don't really need it, but always good to have. But it'll actually mean that when I'm using the monitors, hopefully they'll be that bit higher, less leaning forward, less craning the neck. So hopefully it'll be a bit more of an ergonomic solution for when I'm working. So that's what's arriving later on this week. I'll, like I say, do the unboxings, do reviews of them once I've installed those. I know I've still got to do a review of this chair, so I'll get that done over the next couple of weeks. But that's the updates, that's where I am. So yeah, I'll get the rest of the stuff up and posted as soon as I can. Cheers guys.